The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find. The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style.
Hello and welcome to the Big H Podcast. My name is Mike Heise, and I'm along here with an old friend. You might have remembered him from a past podcast, Carl Gaupp of Hilton High School. Carl, it's great to have you along.
Thanks for having me here, Mike.
Great to have. Today's date, if you're checking, is August 15th, 2024. And Carl, as teachers and our viewing audience, many of them have children.
Yep.
Talk about a little bit about getting ready for the new school year.
Well, this morning was actually my first, what I call my wild hair morning, where I
you don't have that much.
so I get a day in.
I mean, you have hair, but it's just shortcut.
Yes, I'm old school that way. So for most of the summer, I try not to think about school, but now as we get closer to the beginning of the new school year, I'll start to put together my copies and things like that. I just pick one day and I just wake up and I'm like, yep, today's the day. So this morning was my morning. I submitted most of my copies, got them ready to go, communicating with some colleagues about how we're going to start the school year.
Now, when you get your copies ready and stuff, how far out do you do that? 1 week, 2 weeks, a month? How far out?
For the main class that I teach, IB Chemistry 11, I'll do the whole first unit.
Okay.
So all the homework assignments, labs, activities, everything up to the unit test, I'll save that for the end of the unit.
And what is that first unit for you guys at IB Chem?
It's like a math and measurement sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of use it, my colleague, Mr. Brookgay, will use it as a way to make sure that the students who are in the class are appropriately placed. So we don't want to have students in there who are going to be over their head and struggling massively the entire year. So we kind of lay out some of the math concepts first. And then if a student decides math, I'm in a lower math than this course requires, then they have an opportunity to go down to a Regents class or another chemistry class.
Now, you mentioned that you had some conversations, maybe emails or whatever, with some of your colleagues. Mike Brookgay was one of them, I would assume.
Yep.
Anybody else that you want to mention?
Mike Childs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be teaching AP Chemistry with him this year.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the two main ones that I overlap with curriculum.
Now, do you do the instruction and the lab, or does one of you guys do just the lab, or how's that work?
Yeah, I do instruction and the lab.
And so with Mr. Childs and Mr. Brookgay?
Yep. It's a little bit different than when you and I were in high school, where we had a separate lab.
Right.
And you had A day and B day, at least when I was there. And Mr. Dowd would kind of let us go, and there was a lab assistant, Mrs. Schultz
Mm-hmm.
was her name, and she would kind of run the lab. But now we do it all in our own classrooms.
Okay. I'm class of 1987 from Hilton High School, just put some age on it. You again?
Class of 1993.
Class of 1993.
Yep.
Also, a little on a personal note, you're kidless this week, right?
I am kidless. Both of the kids have been shipped off to overnight camps.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is at GVRC, which is our former principal, Brian Barlow's
Mm-hmm.
camp. And then my daughter is at Camp Corey for the week.
Excellent. So, again, not to get too personal, you and your wife enjoying your time together as empty nesters, or is it kind of empty?
It's different. It's different. Yeah. Like yesterday, we just went to a Red Wings game in the middle of the day. We're going to go see a movie tomorrow in the middle of the day. So I guess we're kind of blue hairing it a little bit too.
Uh-huh.
But it's different. She's working.
Okay.
So she's off in Macedon today on a job. So I'm at home kind of, get out and mow and do all that dad
Can you
summer stuff.
refresh my memory? What's her position? What's her job?
She is an interior designer. She
Okay.
works for a local company. They're up on North Grease Road. They're called Upstate Roots Design. And so she will do staging and destaging for houses that are for sale.
Mhm.
And then she does individual consults if people want to do a refresh in a room in their house.
Very nice. Very nice. So you went to the Red Wings game.
Yep.
Now, my wife and I, we like to go to Red Wings game. My wife's a people watcher. I like baseball. I know you do. Maybe your wife does too. We also like to eat because there's so many things around there to eat. Did you guys partake there, or did you eat ahead of time?
I didn't. She did. She just got a cheeseburger. She used to like Red Osier when they were in there, and that's gone now. They have some kind of, I don't know, something that's similar, but it's not called Red Osier. I usually just get a white hot,
right?
And I want a Jenny Cream Ale.
Okay,
that's my fare.
Jenny Cream Ale. That's first of all, it's local.
Yeah,
brewed. Cream ale versus Jenny. What's the difference in the taste? Is cream ale thicker?
Not much.
Not much.
They're not much. Yeah, they're all expensive at Innovative Field now too. It's ridiculous.
For those students of Mr. Gaupp, you just had one to wash your white hot down, right?
Just one.
Just one. I like white hots too. I think, isn't Rochester known for white hots?
Yeah, we're the only ones. Even if you call it a red hot someplace else, they'll look at you funny.
My parents, I was born in Ohio, and when they moved to Rochester when my dad got a job, and when they would go back to Ohio to visit, their friends would call and say, "Get us white hots. Get us white hots."
Yeah. When we were down in Florida, I think my dad mailed us down a big box of Zweigels, and when we were in Michigan, he brought some out for us too, because you can't get them.
I never liked white hots growing up. I love them now. Condiments. What do you like on it? Just ketchup, mustard, nothing?
I'm ketchup, mustard.
Are you?
Yeah.
My father-in-law, he says if you have to put a condiment on a hot dog, it's not a good hot dog.
Now, if they're warmed up or if they're left over from the fridge, I'll just crush them.
You don't even have to reheat them?
Nope.
Do you own a air fryer yet?
Oh yeah, we have an air fryer.
They're unbelievable.
My wife uses that a lot. I don't use it. I'm kind of old school. Like if I want to heat something up like pizza, it just goes in the microwave.
Okay.
Even if it's soggy, or I'll just eat it cold.
Right. When you, like, let's say you go out and get a burger at Bill Gray's. Well, we don't have sponsors yet. So anyone watching that wants to sponsor, leave a comment in the comment box below. You let's say you go to Bill Gray's and you get a burger and fries and you can't eat all your fries. The air fryer, when you put the air fryer at 4 minutes, 400 degrees, and you flip them halfway through, they come out exactly the way they were the first time around.
Yep, my wife, she'll do that for the kids.
Good.
100%. Yeah.
Do they like the chicken fingers or whatever too?
So my son Will, he's big cheeseburger.
Okay.
Any place you go, cheeseburgers.
I was thinking more like the air fryer stuff. What did they like out of the air fryer? Or just
chicken fingers, tater tots.
Yes.
Yeah.
The tater tots.
My wife will make home fries.
Okay.
In there, and those turn out really well too.
And it's so nice with parents both working and stuff. The microwave was a great invention. I think the air fryer is, as Charlie Kimball, my old algebra teacher in middle school, would say, he would call the calculator the best invention since bottled beer. I think air fryer is the best invention since the microwave. And so those moms or dads, anybody that's working, when you got to come home and put a meal together quickly, that device,
it's a lifesaver.
It honestly is, and it's good tasting, and sometimes it's better to, get away from the fast food chains and stuff like that. Cheaper. Yeah,
we definitely are not fast food people.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do Shaler's once a year, basically. Mm-hmm. That's our Valentine's Day dinners. We do Shaler's. But
do you go out, or you bring it? Is it a takeout?
Takeout.
We'll
do takeout. So I'll pick it up on the way home from school, and that'll be dinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Carl, it's great to have you here. This is my first studio podcast.
Yeah.
I got a couple nice lights, a couple new chairs. I think it'll hold me, at least for the first one. And I'm just noticing watching this, there's a Notre Dame flag in the back. Yes, I am a Notre Dame fan. I think you're either a Notre Dame lover or hater. And I've been a Notre Dame lover my whole life. My grandfather went there. Side note, enjoy that. Today's podcast, though, it's to obviously reintroduce you to the crowd.
Yep.
of thousands. And then we went to lunch the other day
Yeah.
at the family restaurant. If you're looking to advertise again, we'd be more than glad to plug you a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we talked about some different things of maybe branching out different possible avenues in the podcast. Talk a little bit in general, however you want to take it, about our discussion and that we had.
So I think we were kind of talking about teacher's perspective, various things that maybe we do in the classroom and we don't really talk about it explicitly. So, what does it mean to have a merit-based system in your classroom? Do you grade? Why do you grade? How do you grade? How do you solicit answers from students? Do you just give them the answers when they ask you a question, or do you turn around and ask another question, or using the Socratic approach? Just how to be, what makes a teacher a master teacher? Obviously knowing the content, but also how do you relate to students? I've seen on some of your your older podcasts, you talk to students and they talk about relationships with teachers. How is that relationship built? And today, how do we maintain that? How do we keep it appropriate? So some of those things.
And going back to grading and merit-based systems, sometimes when I'm at the elementary level, I'm in third grade teaching. Dan Delaney, my first principal, Dr. Dan Delaney, he used to say, if you're ever asked what you teach, you don't say third grade or IB Chem, you say I teach children or you teach students. And I think a lot of the confusion amongst parents is that our grading systems are always changing. Sometimes you get a rubric grade system.
Yep.
Sometimes you get a percentage as the kids get older in class. Now there's Infinite Campus where most of your quizzes and grades are. You could have a paper grade where your child writes a paper of 3 to 4 pages. Well, how did you come to a percentage grade or a 3 out of a 4 based system? And, we try not to hold kids back in school.
Yep.
But we also want to make sure that they're meeting benchmark. And at the elementary level, reading is, of course, the most important skill. And so we identify students to get into certain reading help. And then we differentiate which people that are watching. It's just a fancy term of trying to place kids in the level that they're presently at. Okay, if they're struggling, if they're kind of like on benchmark, or if they're already exceeding that, you want to give them instruction and text that will bump them up where they presently are with a one-on-one action with a teacher. And so what the parents are always searching for is my kid on the same level as their peers?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and I'm sorry to keep talking about you about elementary, and then we talk about okay, they're at a level 34, and they're like, okay, well, what's a level 34?
Right.
34 is the beginning of third grade. Well, where do we want them? We want them to be at a 38 by the end, So meritocracy. You did a Google search over the last couple of days, correct?
I did.
And when you did that, can you explain? Because I think meritocracy is probably going to be one of those first topics that we explore together. And what did you find when you did look up meritocracy?
So I just, right into Google, I typed in meritocracy, and of course the definition came up first. So getting things based on your merit, the effort, the hard work that you put in. But what was interesting is further down the first page of Google, all of the articles that I was finding were negative about meritocracy, how it was bad for kids. And so I had to modify my search to be pros and cons. And then I got to see a mix of different perspectives on it.
Now in third grade, and I teach language arts, of course, and we do a lot of derivational relationships amongst words. And so we break up syllables and whatnot. So if you break up meritocracy, of course, the first word of that is merit.
Yeah.
And then you look at what turns into a suffix, the ocracy. Well, that can turn into democracy, aristocracy, and it turns into more almost like a governmental definition.
Yes, yeah, and it definitely, I think it has its roots in there, because if the people who, hopefully, in theory, the ones who are working the hardest, putting in the most effort, they're going to be rewarded for that. And what ends up happening is those people tend to be your leaders, because they're making sacrifices to get into those higher positions.
And then there's the opposing thing might be, well, are we social promoting kids? Like I always want to make sure, like, I think I don't want to speak for every elementary teacher, but usually about May, you're multiple assessing the kids. And
Right.
it's whether it's in reading, the kids have these tests called map testing, and they get taken 3 times a year on their laptop, and they're pretty good at it. They take state testing, um, mostly in May and June, and then they're taking reading evaluations, which we call F&Ps,
Hmm.
Fountains and Pinnell. That's the book series. And all of a sudden, the kids are just getting barraged with it. And we're not always looking to say, okay, you have all the elements to show that you've sufficiently done all the things for third grade to go to fourth. What we're looking for is that progression, that
Mhm.
arrow on those test scores or your reading scores. We're going in this direction.
Yeah, you should have a positive slope on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so even if you didn't reach like the end of third grade, but you're still on the upslope,
Yeah.
that's what we want. The map testing, and I know the parents are probably familiar with it, but they do it in math and ELA, and it's 3 times a year. And they can give you parental reports. Ask for them from your teacher because they can get them for you. And they'll show you the arrows going up, and then they can show going down if it is. And it shows
Right.
you colors, and you always want to be in that yellow range. And if a kid gets into the blue, that's above. And so what I can say to parents is you always want to be progressing.
Yes.
And it's, if your child starts out a little bit behind, well, by the end of the year, if they're on the upswing, they're on the upswing. Um, Another thing I want to bring up with Dr. Dan Tulane, taught me a lot, is, God, I feel like I'm getting interviewed by you, but
That's great.
it's great. I think I want to just keep
Yeah.
hammering away at meritocracy and a little bit about how parents can get associated and understand it. Is he said, and now I see signs. I don't know if Mr. Warren from Quest got it or whatever. And he said, you might be teaching children in third grade and they're going to lack maybe social skills or academic skills. And what you have to tell you is they're not mastering it yet. And that yet part is extremely important.
Yeah.
You could have a kindergarten child that just isn't used to social interactions with students, and they're just not used to being in a room with 15 kids, and they might, their behaviors might be all over the place. And then by the third or fourth grade, they've understood it
They
and they're
blossom.
okay. They blossom. Or in some cases, there are some students that come in and that you're like, this child learns a little bit different. So then you explore different things. And then, they may have a disability. Now I'm getting a little off track. But, in terms of meritocracy, I don't think like kids don't always learn at the same rate, the same style, and the same, well, I already said rate and speed. And we'd be surprised, like eventually they find their niche, and in high school they say, I love chemistry, and that's
Yeah.
going to be their route in life.
Yep. And to kind of piggyback on what you were saying about, because I think the level that you're teaching, those are the formative years.
Mm-hmm.
And I can use my daughter as an example. So and I think I talked about this in my first podcast with you, reading was very difficult for her as a direct result of, I believe, the remote learning.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have that social interaction, and her reading was behind. So she got into some remediation. We got a tutor for her, and now she is a voracious reader. She's writing her own stories and little comic books. So it's you're right. It takes time for some of these kids, but they need that differentiation that you talk about.
And not to take away from your intelligent conversation about your daughter, voracious. Where did a science teacher come up with that?
I like English too.
Okay.
And I like history.
My brother, who's David Heiss, he's an English teacher. He would love that word.
That's a $5 word.
OUS is a suffix. My mom was an English teacher, so she would have loved to hear that. I think you had her in preschool.
Yep. I had your mother for preschool. Yep.
Right. So we occasionally go down memory lane here. So I think that's a little bit of meritocracy. And sometimes I think this is opinion alert. New educational words come out. And I think it's sometimes unfair to mom and dad at home, who's ever raising the kid, going to work 40 hours a week. And then all of a sudden they get a report card and they're like, okay, Fountains Pinnell, 38. And they're like, okay, what does this mean? And the best way to sometimes address that is at a parent conference, an email, a phone call. What was it like as a parent, and when you were having your kids go through, you just mentioned your daughter with reading issues. How was the contact with the teachers in the school? What worked best for you and your wife?
So remember, my daughter is at Quest, so they have their portfolios. So you'll have a share with the teacher and actually the student. So my daughter will present everything that she's doing. And the contact that we've had thus far with the teachers at Quest has been phenomenal. If we have a question, they're more than happy to answer it. And the same was true with Will when he went through Quest also. It gets a little bit, we get busier as the kids get older. So things in the high school, maybe, or in the middle school, you don't have quite as much teacher contact. I know my experience in the high school teaching there for a while now is I won't see very many parents, even on parent-teacher conference nights, because mostly unless there's a problem. If there's a problem, then maybe I'll reach out. But at that point, in my opinion, when they're juniors, if they're having an issue, I would like them to
advocate for themselves.
Yes, yes. And then if that student and I can't resolve an issue, then let's bring in the parents. Let's talk to them, because parents are vitally important. But I want to try and build those skills with the students to be able to self-advocate.
And again, I mentioned Infinite Campus. And for those that aren't familiar with Infinite Campus, that's a computerized program in which parents and students can go into it. Teachers input grades into it, and there's a way to communicate, which helps. And if I think about the difference between a high school kid parent versus, let's say, sixth grade and down, conference night, you have 90% of your parents that are in there. And conference time, I'm not saying it's a lot harder than high school. It is, because it's intensive. And sometimes the conversations you have with parents, they're hearing information for the first time. Kindergarten, first grade, maybe your child has a reading issue. Maybe they have an attention issue. And so there's a lot of heavy discussions that need to happen. When they come to me in third or fourth grade, they sometimes heard things. And then we're talking about how we can address it. And the best way is to listen to the parents' concerns, listen to them, what they experience when the child goes home, and then try to work something out together. Because, in my opinion, we're not trying to change a kid's personality. We just try to change the behavior in order to make them better learners in the learning environment. And now, as opposed to when the kids get in middle school and high school, you're right. Kids should be advocating for themselves. And your conference night, when you look at that contract and you're like, I got to make myself available for these 7 hours. A lot of you guys may be like, oh, I don't have many scheduled. So, I can negotiate, not the contract, but I can plan or, meet with other colleagues.
There are other things. Teachers will sometimes double or triple up with a certain family. If they see we have a spreadsheet that we keep, and so they'll all get together and kind of have a larger conference for those students. It's definitely different. It's definitely different than when we were in high school. I don't think my parents ever went to a parent-teacher conference night.
I don't think they ever did. And it's like, back then, report cards were E's, S pluses, S. Right. And my dad would just say, I'll just look at the comments. And the comments were much smaller and not very detailed. It was good student, good role model, well behaved. It was like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And that's a good thing, I think, nowadays, that we've become more explanatory in our situation. You just can't say a kid's on benchmark or not. Why do you think they're not on benchmark? What are we going to do in order to up that? All right, so I'll get off my tangent and get back to what we want to explore more in future podcasts. You mentioned, a topic, What do you think the purpose of bringing you more into the fold as a lead in the podcast? Like, what do you want to bring to it?
Well, I tend to be, I try to separate feelings from facts.
Mm-hmm.
And as a science teacher, I think I'm pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of evaluating a situation and then coming to a conclusion using the scientific method.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to, maybe for new teachers, could be experienced teachers, parents in the community, what I think are important characteristics of teaching, or how do we maximize the potential of our students? So how can I make, when students set foot in my classroom on September 4th, how am I going to make them better people by June? What are the things that I think are important? I think that's what you and I would like to explore further, both the pros and the cons of what we practice.
Mm-hmm. And I think to piggyback off of what you said, I had a podcast with Mr. Warren, the principal of Quest, and that's something that he wants to do in retirement, is getting to more like video coaching or teaching coaching, where you can use off of your experience. Like, look, face it, the older you get, the closer that retirement comes to you, but you still have to have a plan. Yeah. And that's what his plan is. And I think, the fact that you and I could do a little bit and not prop ourselves up as the be all and end all master teachers, teacher of the year, or anything like that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't like to self-deprecate, but I am not going to be the teacher of the year mm-hmm. person. I think I'm more of like a grunt when it comes to mm-hmm. that. But there are people that maybe we'll have on in the future who go above and beyond, mm-hmm. that can share their perspective. They can be more experts in certain things also.
Yeah, and I don't want to call out anybody by name, but there are certain things that we've done at staff meetings at Village that have been very effective. And one of the most ones that we ever did was at a staff meeting. We all showed up, and you matched up in a group of 3 or 4, and they gave you a Post-it note pack, and you just walked around to classrooms. So you'd walk into a different classroom, look on the walls, look at the setting of the chairs. Where was the chalk? Whiteboard. Smartboard, whatever. And you would make a positive comment and you'd put it on the doorway. And then when the meeting was over, you'd go back to that classroom and you would see 10 or 12 Post-it notes of what people recognized in the classroom. Uh-huh. And you know what? When I go in a different classroom, I always look over and say, I should be doing that. I should be doing that.
That's definitely something that I think, especially in the high school, we could do a lot more of. Mm-hmm. We tend to get into silos, mm-hmm. Or just observing other teachers teach to mm-hmm. see how they do it. Like teachers that win these Golden Apple Awards, how are they doing it?
Mm-hmm. And I think part of it is instruction, but I think also it's that thing that you mentioned earlier, that relationship piece. How are you able to reach the students academically and establish trust? Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if she's still around, but Dr. Benita Jerkaski, she was one of my professors at Brockport State, and I wrote in a 1-page opinion thing, and I said I want to be friends with the students, and she called me out in front of the whole class of 25 new teachers.
Yeah, and
she was tough, she was intelligent, and she just said, "You do not want to be friends with your students. And she just very simply said, you want to be friendly with them." Yeah. And I'll never forget it. And, as a teacher, you got to have a good relationship, but you also sometimes got to lay down the law, and you're not going to be liked at times.
Right. And walking that line. But if the student knows that we get back to meritocracy, if they're putting in the work and the effort, that I will recognize that. And so, hey, you had a slip up, mm-hmm. no big deal. But I have said the same thing to my students. Mm-hmm. Like, I am not your friend. Mm-hmm. After you leave my classroom or you graduate, then we can be friends.
Right.
But right now we have to have that separation, and They get that.
They do. And the thing is, I think anybody that goes into teaching, when they say, I love children or whatever, that I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah. You have to have an appreciation of you want to help the future. You don't want to tell them how to act. You just want to provide that foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You want to lay the foundation, lay that groundwork for them. And then, maybe 4, 5, 6 years later, you get an email from a kid that says, "Hey, I'm going to be defending my PhD. Do you want to listen in on my defense?" And that happened to me this past spring, which was really cool.
Can you say the name? Or
it was Alex Green. Alex Green.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because that in their K-12 education, even before they get to college, every grade level, every teacher along the way did something. And that kid may remember that one teacher more than another, but there's in good and bad, challenges and triumphs. Every teacher has had an effect on a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can't be everything for every student.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain types of students, certain personalities that we're going to gravitate towards, or they're going to gravitate towards us. But yeah, so when those kids come back and say those kind of things, it's nice, right? It's those things that give teachers goosebumps.
Sure do. And I mean, I had my first year, I've been in 25, Brad Spears' his name. I hope he's still out there. And that's when cursive handwriting was still taught. And I had a chalkboard, and I would take the chalk and draw the 3 lines. And every day for 20 minutes, we would do it. And he hated it. He was a smart kid, but if he could get out of something, that was it. And I ran into him, I think, at the Hilton Carnival a few years later. And he goes, you teaching me cursive made me think about every other learning experience that I did, that I'm not going to like everything, but there is a purpose.
And the discipline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now the kids just go, they're done with their signature.
Well, it looks like they write with their toes. That's what I tell them.
So I think that is the purpose of it, is to explore more topics in depth. And here's the thing. You and I aren't experts. I'm going to open up the comment box down below for people to make comments, maybe about items that we've talked about today. You can bring in topics that you'd like to explore. If you'd like to be a guest with us, love to hear from you. When we talked, or even when we talked before we went on live today, were there any other topics that intrigue you that might be, willing to explore in the future?
Well, I made a list because I'm one of those people. I'm a list maker. We've touched on this a little bit today. Is like the happy file. I call it the happy file, and I know you have another name for it.
The attaboy file. Explain what we were talking about with that.
So the happy file, and this was one of my friends told me about, is when you get that email or a student comes back to visit and they say something nice, or they recognize you publicly for what you did when they were in your classroom. It's nice to keep that stuff because there will be other days where things aren't going very well for you. And you start to question why you're doing what you're doing. And you go back to that and say, okay, kind of recenters you, like, I am doing a good job. There are students who appreciate the work that we're doing. And so you continue on, you soldier on. Especially becomes, I think, helpful in that March, April timeframe when the school year really starts to drag on. So it doesn't only drag on for the students, it's for us as teachers as well. And
before you get to your next topic, when I did the podcast with Mr. Warren, he said that he journals, and he journals those positives too, so he can go back in. It's a good thought.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be able to do that once in a while. Other things like just professionalism. We talked about grading a little bit with meritocracy. So philosophy of grading, how teachers can maintain their integrity, their principles, especially when there are things that they may not necessarily agree with in the classroom.
Yeah, because after all, I mean, we do have to abide by district guidelines, district curriculums,
Correct.
And it's state mandates and things like that. Go ahead.
Being clear with your teaching. We talked about the Socratic approach.
Explain in 1 or 2 sentences what that is, if you can.
So I could let me try and turn it around on. So who was Socrates?
I think he was like an ancient Greek philosopher or something.
Right. And philosophy is based on what do they ask a lot of?
Questions.
Ask a lot of questions. So the Socratic approach is, as far as I understand it.
By the way, he didn't tell me ahead of time he was going to quiz me.
I didn't.
Go ahead.
100%. If a student asks me a question and they get really frustrated initially with this, they want an answer, but I won't give them the answer directly. So if I'll try and make something up off the top of my head here. If they want to know what's the charge of an atom, I'll say, well, how many protons are there? How many electrons are there? What's the charge of a proton? What's the charge of an electron? And by asking those further questions, they can take ownership of the knowledge and say, oh, the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons, so the charge of the atom must be 0. Very good. And I'll kind of smile at them, and I'll turn around and walk away. And that's how it works, as far as I can tell.
And I think it's so valuable because you're leading the student into that answer, so they come up with it. It's not, here's
Yes.
a very simple. You could have just said, boom, here's the answer, and then they get their answer and they go.
Right. And that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want. But then they start to figure it out later on in the school year. Then it'll be, they won't ask that simple question right away. They'll sit and they'll ponder it for a little while. And if they still can't get it, then they'll ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll still go back and ask another question.
What else you got?
Relationships between teachers and students, the role of a teacher in the classroom. And then there are probably some other topics that we can save for later that might be a little bit more controversial. But we'll kind of see if the audience, if you guys want to make comments and say, yeah, we want to hear about that, or we would prefer not to, or these are some things that we're concerned with. So,
yeah, because again, it's not, there's facts and then there's opinions that develop based on facts, and we don't have them, but we are two teachers that do believe in the future. We have a big stake, and I mean, one of the things that I wanted to explore, and this will help because on the Big H podcast, a lot of my listeners are boomers and stuff, is just how the Gen X, Y, and Z, how their ability to formulate ideas and opinions is developed. You know, for example, my parents, who if they were still around would be like 75, they would be baby boomers. Is that Gen X? No, I'm Gen X.
I'm Gen X also.
Okay, so boomers are older than that. I actually took a picture on my phone because I want to be
boomers are like 45, 50 through the 60s, late 60s.
I mean, their way of getting information would have been newspapers, and you know, let's go to Gen Z nowadays, right? That's your 8, that's your 12 to.
I've kind of lost track of all the.
But I mean, the thing is, like, and here's another topic I could write down: social media. A lot of their information they're getting from social media, and they're just getting blasted with stuff. And sometimes it's I'm going to use this word, fact checked. Sometimes it's not. So like the difference with the generations and how they consume or get news or it's almost I shouldn't be saying this too much because we should do the future podcast. It's almost like an instant gratification in which you can get your info so quickly.
Yeah, and how that information is tailored to the specific user. So, for example, I won't just look at one news source. I'll go a couple different directions to try and get a different perspective, maybe that I didn't think about. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I realize, I didn't think about it that way. I need to reevaluate my stand on that. But students sometimes can get into the younger kids can get into an echo chamber, and we can fall into that too. And I'm sure we do from time to time.
Absolutely,
and you have to kind of get yourself out of that.
In college, I was taking communications before I got into teaching, and one of my favorite professors, Dr. Sam Nelson, he was younger, but he used to say in our debate class, when you can debate the opinion that you don't agree with and you can be persuasive, you know what you're doing.
Right.
And to do that, you have to have that open-mindedness, which is, I think, one of the tenets of IB learner profiles is having an open mind.
Yep, absolutely it is. Yeah.
Now, truth be told, at Village, going into our classrooms, they have pictures of us, of all our, me, and then they put like what IB learner profile you're good at.
Right.
Which one do you think I'm good at?
Listening.
Say that to my wife. It starts with a C. I was a communications major.
I used to communicate.
Communications.
Yeah, there you go.
What one do you think that then you had to put one that I'm working on?
Oh boy. I don't know. I don't want to guess.
Open mind, working
Really?
more with an
Yeah.
open mind, because people that know me best know that I can be very closed and pig-headed. Why did I bring this up? Because that's what I think we want to be, and we want to portray to the listeners and the viewers, is we're going to approach anything with an open mind and not a bias, because, well, this is,
Well, I think there's a lot of different directions that we could go,
mhm.
but just keep it in terms of the teaching part.
Mhm.
And I had something else that was really profound, and now it's gone.
Let me talk, and then you can, because parents and kids, students, teachers can have such an indelible impact on kids. And, you know, I don't know, when you were growing up, like, man, if a teacher said that, it was gold.
Yeah.
Did you think of what you were going to talk about?
Nope.
Well,
Nope.
maybe that's a decent point to end with. Any final thoughts about the past, the summer, moving on to September?
I'm looking forward to the school year again. In June, I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
but now I'm recharged. Summer's been good, and hopefully, what would be nice is if we got some views from this, and people said, "Yeah, we're interested in hearing about some things."
X, Y, and Z.
And I think we want to keep them short also.
You're right.
Right. So we want to do like 15, 20 minute, unless we get carried away. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it could be a lot of fun. We'll see what happens when the school year picks up and everyone gets busy. But yeah.
No, I think it's a great idea that you actually promoted to me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am, for the first time, going to open up the comments section, and so you can pipe in your comments, and then we'll read them and see where we can go. Summertime is a definite time to recharge for everybody. I think the students need a break from school. They need a break from each other. Mm-hmm. And so do the teachers.
Yeah, we need a break from our colleagues also. Yeah.
People need a break from me. That's the funny thing. So the last thing I'll leave with, any ideas? Because when I do the Historical Society podcasts, it's the Big H podcast, and we have the conversations with Dave Crum. Yep. And then we also have the Foster Focus with with John Foster. He's the president of the Palmer Hilton Historical Society. Have you thought of any ideas for your title? And again, we'll open up the comments for you. Yeah. And if I learn enough about big tech, I could put a vote system out there, and the audience can vote.
Yeah. Well, we talked about digging in with Doc.
Because if those of you that haven't watched, he does carry a PhD. So
yeah, and before we came on camera, I told you I'm not really hung up with that. The only reason that I have the kids call me that is because I want them to understand. Again, we'll circle back to meritocracy. Mm-hmm. How did I get that, and why do I still use it? So if we use that for our first one, and if we can keep a baseball reference in there too, that's great. So yeah, I'm open to anything really.
Me too. And sometimes the best ideas come in the heat of the night, or the dark of night, I guess, so to speak. Yeah. But hey, it's been good catching up with you. I wish you best of luck in the new school year.
Same to you.
It's been Mike Hayes with I'm going to always officially got to call you Dr. Carl Gaupp on the Big H podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you real soon.
The Big H podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find